We can start anytime. I'm going to announce that we want to welcome you as usual, and you will notice that the female half of our music team is out of town this weekend. So as I teased someone earlier, you're stuck with us guys. But welcome and enjoy, and we'll start with our opening song right now. Join us. Open the door and come on in. I'm so glad to see you, my friend. You're like a rainbow coming around the bend. And when I see you happy, well, it sets my soul free. You've got a friend here. Open the door and come on in. I'm so glad to see you, my friend. You're like a rainbow coming around the bend. And when I see you happy, well, it sets my soul free. You've got a friend in unity.
The male version is just as good.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Almost. Well, it's just as good with the females too.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Bedford Hines, and the chairperson today, and welcome any and all that are joining us through video. It occurs to me that that having religious services, whether unity or any other services, really are necessary reminders of what is basic, what's fundamental in our life to believe. And so I was reminded of this again yesterday as John and I met with a new group of about to be members, and they were here this morning, Casey and Patrice. Deidre, sorry, I'm sorry, excuse me. Casey and Deidre, and Kristen, and is Kristen here?
No, I don't see her here today.
Anyway, we went through some of the essentials of unity, and probably the most essential part are the 5 principles. And so we went through those 5 principles. The first one, and most important, and I think it encompasses all the rest of the 4, are that there is one power, in this universe, God the good. And I think that encompasses the other 4 too, which are that we are creations of God. and with a number of us. At any rate, it's a very profound way of trying to put into practice that we are love. That is who we are, but from our heart, not our head. There's one lesson that we had together that I'd like to quote from, and that's lesson 2. And it says that it's our heart, yes, that is where we will focus our attention, and it is there already. It's always in our heart. It goes on to say that what really can make this very concrete, very livable, is to chant the word yes. It will open your channels of your mind, preparing your heart for everything else. It doesn't matter what language you use, I'm quoting here, it is a feeling that you generate that creates the opening. There is a sound in Hebrew that essentially means it is so. This is a more powerful interpretation of the word yes. Yes, it is so. The sound is yesh. Say it a few times out loud. Make the sound long and drawn out, and I'm going to have us do that in a moment, for at least a few seconds. Yesh, Y-E-S-H, yesh. Together. Yesh, yesh, yesh. It is so. The sound generates a powerful response within your heart. See if you can sense the feeling. As one who has awakened his heart and mind to the experience of Christ consciousness, I can tell you that your dedication to this one word will lead you to where I am standing now. It is so. Your Christ mind is so. That's beautiful, isn't it? Yes.
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 It is so. Okay. Let us move on to our vision together. A world powerfully transformed through shared spiritual awakening. And our mission together, advancing the movement of... Sorry about that.
You're going to get back to it.
It's not working now.
There's a reverse button.
I know. There we go. Try it again. Our mission together. Advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. And our values together: abundance, acceptance, community, diversity, integrity, joy, and love. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And we celebrate our children together. Unity of Appleton sees the divinity in all children and nurtures their unfolding spirituality. Yes. And from the Daily Word, the phrase, actually it's a sentence, kindness is the language of my heart. I set the intention today to give from my heart, to show compassion and kindness to everyone I meet. I begin by being kind to myself. I take time for spiritual self-care and prioritize good nutrition, relaxation, and exercise. I am gentle with myself when I come up short, filling my self-talk with words of affirmation and compassion. Being kind to myself makes being kind to others easy and natural. I am patient and understanding, and I seek harmony and accord in my relationships. I let the small irritations go, remaining calm and pleasant. I look for ways to lighten the load of others and don't hesitate to offer a helping hand. My kindness helps create the kingdom of heaven on earth. And from Matthew, the 25th chapter, verse 35, for I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. Let us share together the statement at the top. Kindness is the language of my heart. Yes.
Yes. Yep. Yep. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be loved. Fill your heart open to skies above. We can all know of everyone without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by.
Wonderful thing to be reminded of this morning, as I was trying to do too, and such a wonderful segue into introducing our speakers this morning too. We have our couple with us, as we've had before, and it's our pleasure to welcome them back, as always. Mary Patrice has been a full-time elementary special education teacher for 18 years. She is also the part-time spiritual leader at Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock, Illinois. Mary Patrice became an ordained Unity minister in June. Yes. Congratulations. Fantastic. We're so excited to have you and your husband, Tom. And Reverend Tom retired from the active ministry 6 years ago and continues to contribute his energy at Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock. He is a certified dream builder life coach, supporting individuals in defining and living their dreams. Reverend Tom is a spiritual leader of Unity of Des Plaines, Illinois. Mary Patrice and Reverend Tom enjoy hiking, and it's Reverend Mary Patrice and Reverend Tom, enjoy hiking, cooking, baking, family, and socializing. And once again, my pleasure. Welcome.
We're used to standing in a certain way.
Yeah, it's like in church, you have to sit in the same place. We have to stand in the same place.
Yeah, otherwise everything's thrown off, right? So thank you for having us. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. And Bedford, you did a great job of speaking on the topic that we're going to be talking about today. Yeah. So we hope to expand a little bit on that. And our topic is, why unity? Why unity? Why be part of unity? Guy Wendt, who is a TED Talk speaker, did a video on why we all need to practice emotional first aid. What does that have to do with anything? Well, let me tell you. He is an identical twin with a brother that grew up together, having a very close relationship. And he became a very big expert on spotting favoritism. He considers himself an expert in this. And as he got older and became an adult and earned his degree, he continued to notice places where we experience favoritism. He grew up and became trained as a psychologist, even earning his degree, his doctorate in the field. And when someone would ask him, "What are you a doctor of?" and he'd say, "I'm a psychology." "Oh, you're not really a doctor." And he says, "So my brother also became a psychologist. He's not a real doctor either." But what he realized is that society placed favoritism in valuing the body over the mind. We spend more time thinking about the health of our body than we do our mind. There is a paradigm that we live consistently about that. We know how to maintain our body from an early age. A 5-year-old will know that if he has a scrape or a cut, you go and wash it off, and then you go find yourself a Band-Aid. What do we do to maintain our psychological health? Not much. What do we teach our children about emotional hygiene? Not much. We sustain emotional injuries much more often than we sustain physical ones, through failure, rejection, loneliness. And it gets worse with time if we don't attend to it. It can be a lifelong wound that never quite heals. Yet there are scientifically proven spiritual techniques and techniques we teach in Unity that treat these injuries, and we don't even think to use them often enough. Guy and his brother were incredibly close. They spent a lot of time together. They were very much attached until Guy came to the United States to earn his doctorate in psychology. And it came to that time of the year, he'd been gone for about 10 months, and it was their birthday. Now, back then, it was really expensive to call back and forth because they didn't have cell phones. So they would budget so that they could spend 5 minutes on the phone together. And because their birthday was coming, they really budgeted so they could spend 10 minutes together. And they had this plan that they were going to talk on their birthday. He was so excited and so couldn't wait. He cleared his whole schedule for the day just so he could receive this phone call from his brother on their birthday. But the phone didn't ring. It didn't ring. And he was so distraught and couldn't figure out what might have happened. Why wasn't his brother calling him? What was going on? And then he started thinking, well, I have been gone for 10 months now. He's back home with all of our family and friends. Maybe he got busy with them and activities and he's doing things and he just didn't have the time to call me. Maybe he just, kind of forgot. Loneliness set in for him. He's in a new country, in a new town. He didn't know a lot of people. And this loneliness started creating this really deep wound for him. Loneliness will distort your perception to believe that those around you care less than they actually do. It keeps you from reaching out to others, believing that you can't risk finding out that what you're thinking is true because you're already hurting so bad. You physically and emotionally disconnect and spiritually disconnect from everyone and everything because it's so deep and it hurts so much. And chronic loneliness is life-threatening. It can decrease the length of your life by 14%, studies will show. Guy equates the effects of loneliness and psychological wounds with the risks that come with smoking. But on a pack of cigarettes, you will have a warning tab that will tell you that this is a risky behavior to engage in. When you're experiencing loneliness, you don't have that warning that comes with it. We often begin to create scenarios in our minds that support the belief of how we're feeling, that this problem is big, and finding the evidence all around us to support us continuing to feel that way. And if you're like me, you might even ruminate about it for days, weeks, maybe even months. This only deepens that wound, and it allows for infection to come in where it starts to spread into other areas of your life. You start questioning other relationships too. It's so important to stop the emotional bleeding. We begin by treating ourselves with compassion. What would a good friend do for you that you can do for yourself? He talks about creating 2-minute distractions similar to what Bedford mentioned. Affirmations, denials, meditation, things that we teach here in Unity. He said they're proven to work. And if you continue to use them as those moments come up, you will stop that bleeding. You will start creating the moments that move you out of it. You will start feeling emotional resilience. Over 100 years ago, we found out that taking care of our physical well-being and practicing physical hygiene increased life expectancy by 50%. What would that look like if we did emotional hygiene regularly? Why Unity? It supports and introduces research tools to implement emotional and ultimately spiritual first aid, improving the quality of life and sometimes saving it.
Really liked what you said about our culture valuing the body over the mind, believing that, if I damage my body, nobody argues about going to the doctor to get it fixed. If I have emotional or some kind of mental damage, there seems to be a stigma of that there's something wrong with me as opposed to getting it fixed. So I'm glad you made that a point. And yet I like what Donald Curtis says in his book, The Christ-Based Teachings. He says the answers in life come from spiritual insight, from looking within to what we call the Christ. That's where the answers are. So think about it. When you follow your gut, and I don't mean the fears from your history, I mean your gut feeling, the Christ within, your heart, as Bedford so eloquently alluded to earlier. When we follow that, haven't you found that the most reliable resource for direction and support? And the degree to which we maintain an awareness of this Christ presence within us is the degree to which we control our lives and then live that Christ-centered or heart-centered, intuitive-centered existence. That's why Unity. And what's interesting is while certain functions of our being, like our breathing or our heart rate, they just happen automatically, don't they? Don't have to think about them. Well, speaking for myself, maintaining a Christ-centered mindfulness and awareness takes some work and some practice and some mindfulness. It's not automatic, at least for me. I must continually be mindful of it and maintain a mindfulness of it through prayer and meditation, thoughts on Thanksgiving, and the actions we take, including being active in unity. That's what I need to maintain a Christ mindfulness because I have to think about it. So we don't propose that we look outside of ourselves for answers. We look within for the answers, for the direction, for the support. And if I look outside myself for guidance, what do I do when the answer doesn't work? Do I look somewhere else and say, hello, what do I do now? This way didn't work. And when I look within for guidance and I'm redirected, which is going to happen, we simply go within again, don't we? And then we ask ourselves, what's next? What should I do next? Except we probably won't have to look within very long, because often, at least in my experience, when I start on a path and I'm redirected, something doesn't work, I end up with the door closed instead of open, I just, okay, I'll go this way instead. But I'm listening to my heart, listening to my Christ within. And in unity, we know that as we follow our calling, as we follow our internal GPS, there is no such thing as failure, ever. Trial and error, yeah. Redirection, yeah. Success, of course. Why unity? In unity, we help you to understand the law of attraction. We help you to understand how it works in our lives. And we support you in realizing that it's always working, even if you're not focusing on it. This leads us to realize that thoughts of revenge, getting even, or resentment, in the end will only hurt who? Will only hurt us. That's all. Anger held on to, it's only going to hurt us. Because we will attract more of what we're vengeful or angry or resentful about. And when I say attract more, I don't necessarily mean we're going to attract more people to bring that about. I mean, once we start thinking about it, we become what we think about, and we think about it more, and we get into this downward spiral that leads us into the rabbit hole of more anger, more resentment, more wanting of revenge. And the more we think thoughts of gratitude and appreciation, which opens our peripheral vision to opportunity, additional experiences of opportunity and gratitude will then fill our consciousness. And that's where we'll go. That's the law of attraction in action. We become what we think about. Why unity? We educate you and ourselves. I'm always talking about myself up here, believe me. That we need not take responsibility for others' actions, regardless of how inappropriate they might be. We take responsibility for ours, no doubt, and full responsibility for how we respond to others' actions. So in unity, we say, you got to give up saying they made you angry. You got to give up saying they made you resentful. That's a choice. That's my choice. And in doing that, we create some clear boundaries. We don't try to change another, however, we will express to them that, you know what you just did is inappropriate. What you just did isn't promoted or supported here. And those boundaries, then, they exist, the possibilities that we want instead of those we don't want. So we clearly invite you in unity to realize there's times to say no. There's times to say, this isn't working here. This isn't right for me. No more of this. I love what Myrtle Fillmore says in her book, Healing Letters. She says, do you demand of others that which you demand of yourself? That's not unreasonable, is it? She goes on to say that they use good judgment and self-denial when necessary. That's all we're promoting here. And we don't make excuses for others. That's their choice. God bless them. And if their mind is causing tenseness or worry or anxiety or weariness or more, we do not pray to force our idea of what they ought to be doing in their lives. In unity, we pray that they listen to the divine presence within them.
So Guy truly was going down the rabbit hole when he didn't hear from his brother on his birthday. Mm-hmm. He spent the whole night just ruminating and upset. Now, if he had been part of Unity, maybe that might have been a different story. I don't know. But he spent all night upset, unable to sleep. And when he turned over the next day and he went to get up, he noticed that his telephone was off the hook. It wasn't quite seated in that cradle. And he's like, oh no. As soon as he put it on, within 2 seconds, it rang, and his brother's like, where have you been? I have been calling and calling and calling. And he's like, I'm sorry. I don't know. I was so afraid that you didn't remember to call. I was so upset that I didn't hear from you. And he said, well, if you truly felt that way, why didn't you call me? Mm-hmm. And he says, I don't have an answer. Other than he got caught in that illness of loneliness, of the thoughts and the ruminating and things that we do sometimes when we're experiencing pain. And he wasn't able to use tools to get himself out of there. But Unity has tools. And we don't have to look very far. As Bedford mentioned earlier, we have 5 principles that will help us out. Why Unity? The first principle is there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. That means there is only one power that made me, that flows through me, that expresses from me, and that I experience and do out of that power. It allows me to subsequently create from that energy that has created me. There is no other power in the world, and what shows up through me is my gift to the world. What am I bringing through? What shows up through others is their direction of the very same power, creating what is coming through them. It has no judgment about how they use it. That is what free will is all about. So how are you directing your power into the world, into the lives of those around you? Is it empowering them to make the opportunities and choices and create the things that are beautiful to them too? Is it calm, respectful, kind, thoughtful? Principle number 2, the Christ Spirit lives within me. There is a still small voice in me that speaks and inspires. It originates from a place of calmness and clarity, a place of understanding. I know I'm listening to it when the outcome of it produces a peace in me. It may or may not create peace in someone with me, but it creates that knowing of this is right for me. Principle number 3. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I'm in the driver's seat of my life every day, always, always, always. I have the choice to make a new path. Guy had the choice to call his brother. I may not like the choices that are in front of me, but I do have choices, and often what I'm resisting is exactly what I need to make a decision about. Might be a great time to use one of those affirmations or denials. How are you feeling right now? What thoughts are supporting those feelings that you're having? What word describes your life overall? Do you need emotional or spiritual first aid? Principle number 4. I experience the presence and power of God through prayer and meditation. There is never a moment that I am not experiencing the power of God. It is what's creating me to be standing here right now. It is what is producing the air that will help me speak the words I say, have the thoughts, have the feelings that I'm having at this moment. I'm always experiencing that power. But I can choose to experience it more deeply and a more pure presence of it through prayer and meditation. A presence that lessens the pollution of my mind fog. Principle number 5. I put my faith into action by demonstration. I'm always demonstrating where my faith is in all I do and say. If I want to know what I'm about, I just observe my words and my actions. Why unity? Because I find the tools and the support and the community that help make changes to improve the quality of my life and provide emotional first aid when I need it most.
You sound very much like a Unity paramedic. Why Unity? Well, let's look at how Unity views the Bible. We view the Bible as, according to Alden Studebaker in his book, Wisdom for a Lifetime, an anthology of books, letters, songs, poetry, lists, regulations, stories, sayings, and so forth. And they reflect the religious, cultural, and social, political atmosphere of the times they were written. And yet they can apply to our life today, because we interpret the Bible metaphysically. So, let's look at a story everybody here has heard. Okay? It's in the Gospel of Matthew. It's the one of Jesus walking on the water, where Peter says, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come out to you on the water." And Jesus says, "Come." And Peter got down out of the boat and walked on the water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, Peter cries out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him and said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Did Jesus really walk on water? Did Peter actually get out of the boat and walk on water too? Personally, I don't believe so. I believe this is a parable about trusting the divine presence within that calls us out of the boat to walk in an uncomfortable place that we may not believe is possible. That divine presence is what Jesus represents in that story. It's when our Christ says, come, or come on. When we trust that presence, we can do the seemingly impossible. In this case, the equivalent of walking on water. Everyone here has done it in the past. I know it. When we call on the Christ within, it will spiritually reach out its hand and support and guide us. It requires the faith in ourselves I alluded to earlier, looking within for the answers, trusting our gut, trusting our heart, believing in our intuition. I've already stated, as Donald Curtis said in his book, the answers in life come from spiritual insight, from the Christ presence within, from looking within to that presence. And when we look within, we are open to an array of possibilities and opportunities. And when we lose that faith, when we lose a mindful focus on the Christ, we lose self-confidence. When we disbelieve the whisper of the divine presence within us, the calling of our hearts, typically due to outer circumstances, and I'm talking about me here. In the parable, the wind, which is what Peter noticed and said, oh my God, I can't do this. Those possibilities become unattainable. And we then sink into a sea of doubt. So I ask you and I ask myself, are there any winds of doubt blowing in our lives today? Are there any winds of doubt that prevent us from attempting the possibilities that our imagination is seeing for us, that the Christ is calling for us to move toward? Why unity? When we use these teachings and tools that are provided here to regain our faith, our ability to listen to that divine whisper, to trust our gut, to listen to our heart, the internal hand of the Christ within us will reach out and lift us and help us be whatever we need to be in that moment. And once more, we will find ourselves walking on water.
Why unity? Unity introduces tools, practices, and perspectives which provide emotional and spiritual first aid. It is relevant for today and requires no defense in explaining the positive effects that it brings. Mm-hmm. Just like Bedford mentioned, you live it. It is self-diagnostic. You'll know when you're out of alignment through the experiences of your outside world and the feedback of that internal emotional thermostat. Most importantly, it empowers each of us to be in the driver's seat of our lives, using the divine energy that we have been born with and are able to direct out in an authentic life that not only blesses us, but blesses our communities. Let it be so, and so it is. Namaste.
Namaste. And so we move into that time of guided reflection or meditation. And so I invite each of us to truly own the space you're sitting in right now. Own it with your heart. it with your mind. Feel comfortably supported by your chair. And allow your mind and your heart and your body to hear the idea to relax. Simply relax, sweet child. You are home now. You are safe. You are safe here. Be aware of the miracle of breath that sustains your life. Relax into gratitude for the miracle you are. Let us allow our minds to combine with our heart right now. Bring the distance between the two together. And experience the true deep peace of life. We are each at one with the I am. In this state, let us remember, I am. I am the Christ of my being. Just be with that presence right now. Simply be with it. I am relaxed. I am confident. I am the love alluded to at the very beginning of this day together. I am the divine presence within me. I am. I breathe from the divine presence. My heart and my mind work together to express it and experience it. And as I begin to walk gently from this place of meditation, I stroll softly into the reality of this day, breathing into the idea of the Christ within, allowing it to guide and support and live these outstanding tools you just heard of. That is our truth. And as we enter into this present moment, you may want to wiggle your fingers and toes and open your eyes and gaze upon the beautiful souls and surroundings about you, holding in your heart the Christ. And so it is. Amen.
Before we move ahead, I just need to say how grateful I am to Reverend Mary Patrice and Tom. We really know how powerful our faith really is, don't we, in unity? And yes, that's right. Thank you for some profound and clear understanding of the power of unity. Thank you. So now we enter into that time that we are celebrating unity through our affirmation of prosperity that is always ours, and we're just affirming it now. And so together we will affirm through our gifts in a moment, but we affirm it as a general truth. Together, unity of Appleton is alive with the energy of spirit in the flow of a divine abundance and radiant with unlimited possibilities. Yes. And now taking your gift or blessing the basket as it comes by, in celebration of giving and receiving together, divine love in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I joyfully give and willingly receive. I give, and I trust God as my source. Yes.
Let it be easy, go with the flow. Let it be easy, God's will to know. Let it be easy, follow your soul. When it is easy, you're one with life's flow. Let it be easy, balance to know. Let it be easy, release and let go. Let it be follow your soul. When it is easy, you're one with life's flow.
I'm sorry. There we go. So now, I'll get back on track. Remembering that we have announcements, and they are, first, check your inbox. You should have gotten an email Monday with a full fall update from the board. A limited number of paper copies are on the Connect and Serve table in the back. Save the date. Want to make a positive impact on our community? Saturday, November 5th is Honoring Our Past, Creating Our Future. More details to follow. And volunteers needed. The Spiritual Social Action Team is looking for folks to rake, weed, and cut back buckthorn from around our lot Saturday, October 29th at 10 a.m. Now, I'll go on there. Coats for Kids will have a box here from September 26th to October 27th. Please take a moment to go through your closets and donate gently used coats or go out and buy a new one. They will take any size coat, even adult sizes. And we have that box out there in the back now. You will notice it that has a couple of coats in it. And hopefully you'll be bringing more. Another thing to elaborate on the Spiritual Social Action Committee, it's really very active right now. For those that are members of the committee, would you stand? Louise and Jules and Deb and myself, thank you. It's very active. And Jules who's a great baker, has a business as a baker, has offered to start a birthday cake or a cupcake tradition, and we'll say more about that in the weeks to come. But Jules is offering her expertise, and we're really looking forward to that. Thank you very much. But also, we've got these Coat for Kids. We've got the raking of the yards. I'm blocking the name of it, sponsored by the Outagamie County. We used to do this years ago. We're going to reinstate it now. And October 29th, that day, we'll also be raking some yards of the elderly that can't afford people to come and clear the yards. And then we will also do the buckthorn pulling that day. We are doing Spiritual Social Action is coming up with a lot of different events this month, to November, to December, some of which are developing or around what we do, like the Coats for Kids and pulling the buckthorn, some of which will be out in the community, like the raking, and we are going to have the ringing of the bells right before Christmas. And probably a pizza event afterwards. It's always been a good event for us. And something with the community group, Carrie, that you just reminded me this morning. Or Jules, or well, that's the ringing the bells. And then the one for housing. Yeah, pillars. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, the point being, we're going to be a presence out in the community as unity, as well as one here. So more to come on that. So I believe, is there any other announcements? If not, let us stand and join together the prayer for protection. With arms outstretched. The light of
God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. All right, folks, this is the time in our service where we do a little discussion time, and we'll take a few minutes to do that, even though we're running a little late.